In this part of the unit, we're moving on from talking about the basics of visual processing to talking about how the visual system creates our perception of color. As you already learned in the first video that you watched, color doesn't exist in the outside world. Color instead is a product of our visual system, a product of our perception. So you've learned about the first stage of color processing, which is called the trichromatic theory. Trichromatic meaning three colors. We have three types of cones on our retina that are specialized to respond to different wavelengths, and that's what you learned about in the last video. So I just want you for a second to recall kind of the anatomy of the eye. So we know that we have our rods, and particularly here we're talking about our cones on the back of the eye, which is the retina. From the rods and the cones, remember those are the cells that take in light, fire action potentials. Action potentials travel along bipolar cells to then ganglion cells. And remember that the axons of the ganglion cells make up the optic nerve. So we have these three types of cones that are each specialized to read different wavelengths. From there, the signal travels along opposing channels. So we have, for example, a red-green channel, a blue-yellow channel, and then a white-black channel, which means white means that all of our cones are activated, black means that none of our cones are activated, but instead that our rods are activated. You'll never see a color that is a reddish-greenish color. You'll never see a color that is a bluish-yellowish color, because when the blue channel is activated, the yellow channel is shut off. When the green channel is activated, the red channel is shut off. So when the green channel of these ganglion cells are firing action potentials, this channel is not activated. When the blue channel, those ganglion cells are firing action potentials, the yellow channel is not activated or it's shut off. Opponent process theory explains why we see after images. After images are sensations that linger even after a stimulus is removed. And opponent process theory explains this. We're going to look at an example of one right now. So if we stare at a green object, we are fatiguing the green portion of that red-green channel that we just looked at a second ago. So in the green channel, those neurons are firing, 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 firing. When we take away that green image and just put, let's say, a white slide up in front of us, the red channel is going to start firing because we've exhausted the green channel and now the opposing channel is going to fire. What about if we stare at a yellow object? What color would we see when we remove the yellow object? We would see blue because blue is the opposing channel to yellow. So if we stare at this, we're just going to stare at it for like, I don't know, 30 seconds or so. What colors did you see? Well, if you saw red, white, and blue, that makes sense. Because when we were staring at this image, our yellow channel of the blue-yellow channel was firing, firing, firing. The green channel was firing. And when we come over to here, the opposite channels are going to fire action potentials. Here's another one. So you can already kind of predict what color is her hair going to be, what color is her skin going to be, what color will her shirt be. If you guessed that her shirt was going to be green, you would be correct. Because as we're staring at this image, we're exhausting the red channel and the green channel is going to fire. So again, opponent process theory is not in opposition to trichromatic theory. It's just describing the second stage of color processing, whereas trichromatic theory is explaining the first stage.